Welcome back to another tier list, guys. In light of the news, wish I would have done this sooner, but hey, we're going to go ahead and do it now. I have not seen every series of Power Rangers that has ever existed, but there is so much content like Power Rangers in general, and just looking up Jason David Frank and just getting down that Power Rangers rabbit hole again. I feel like I need to rank some Zords. I feel like I need to rank some villains. I think that'd be really fun to go down that, despite not being an avid Rangers fan. There's a lot of these Power Rangers that I'm not going to be able to rank. I'm not going to try to. I'm going to go ahead and put them in Never Watched. Might go ahead and rank them, tell you which ones I think look cool. In fact, let's go ahead and add a tier for that. All right, there we go. So we have Never Watched but looks cool and Never Watched, right? So that's going to pretty much do what we need to. So guys, we are ranking the 6th Power Rangers here. So in Power Rangers, you usually have the 5 regular Rangers, red, blue, black or green, pink and yellow usually, and they are the main guys. And then you'll have a 6th Ranger that comes along, oftentimes a villain that turns around and becomes a good guy. Not always a villain, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and rank them. We're going to start off with the OG himself, Jason David Frank, or played by Jason David Frank, Tommy Oliver, playing the White Ranger and also the Green Ranger, why? Okay, so they left out the Green Ranger because Tommy is both the Green and the White Ranger. He loses his green power crystal and then has to get a white one, which he has to basically go on a mission to discover and get that. So yeah, they left out the Green Ranger because it is the same character in the show. That's unfortunate because I actually like the Green Ranger better than the White Ranger. Either way, though, am going to go ahead and put him up in S tier, pure nostalgia's sake. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is legit just the best. A bunch of these, I'm going to go ahead and just get them out of the way. Never watched this, never watched this, never watched this. Never watched this, but it looks pretty cool. I think this is from one of the Mystic. Is this from Mystic? I watched like 2 episodes of Power Rangers Mystic Force, so it might be from that. Never watched that. Oh no, this is from Mystic Force. I don't know. Never watched. It looks cool. Never watched. Never watched. Never watched. So this is actually extra Power Rangers more than 6th Power Rangers specifically, because like these 2 Rangers right here were actually the 4th and 5th in their series. In Ninja Storm, they only started with 3, and then these are 4th and 5th. I apologize for how just stream of consciousness this video is. Definitely more than usual, just due to the nature of. Honestly, I did not intend to make this video today, but given the news, as you saw at the beginning of the video. I think it's definitely time to do that. I think this is all the guys I've never seen before out of the way. Yeah, those look pretty cool. I like orange and purple Rangers because the OG series never really had those. So when they do have them, that's pretty cool. All right, so in the Power Rangers Zeo, so after you have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, 3 seasons, you got Power Rangers Zeo, which comes in with Trey. Is the 6th Power Ranger, and then he does give up that power to Jason, who was the original Red Ranger. I thought that the Gold Ranger was pretty cool. They did call him, I believe, the Gold Ranger, despite most of his armor being black, which makes sense because they've had Black Rangers in the past, even though in Zeo they did not have one at the time. I think this Ranger was pretty cool. His Zord was a pyramid, which was pretty cool, pretty giant, though not really super mobile, so couldn't fight as much as some of the other Zords. But it was still pretty cool. The White Ranger, by the way, had a White Tiger Thunder Sword, which was absolutely ridiculously awesome. Could transform by himself and be a Megazord by himself, or attach with the other Power Rangers to create a beefed up, I think they called it the Tiger Shogun Megazord or something like that. Definitely want to do a Zord tier list. That would be awesome. And then the green Power Ranger, who is not listed here but is the same character, had the green Dragon Zord, which was actually, fun fact, never destroyed. If you remember watching that original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, all the Zords in the show got destroyed, transformed, or something happened to them, except the Dragon Zord. And maybe 1 or 2 others. But the Dragon Sword was specifically when Tommy lost his powers, he just couldn't call it anymore. So presumably it is still down in the bottom of the ocean. Since most of the Power Rangers take place in the same universe, it could come back one day. Maybe it did. In fact, I feel like it did. I feel like I saw something about that. It did in a different show. I don't know. Somebody tell me about that if you're here and know more about this than I do. All right. Power Rangers Turbo, the third series, had this guy. I don't remember his name, but he was like a police officer. I think he was an alien though. So yeah, I'm gonna pull out some names and some memories just from places in my brain here. But this one is not one that I'm pulling out. In fact, I didn't really get the point of this guy. I'm gonna go ahead and put him in D tier. For whatever reason, Power Rangers Turbo is like this hole in my memory. I watched a ton of Power Rangers as a kid. I watched Mighty Morphin, Zeo, Turbo, and then for whatever reason I don't remember Turbo. But I remember In Space, I remember Lost Galaxy. I remember like the next couple series a lot better than I do Turbo. So I don't know. D tier. I don't think this one was pretty good. Power Rangers In Space. They had the I forget if he was a brother or best friend, but one of the Rangers who he basically died, and then he ended up not being dead. He was brainwashed, and then he ended up finding his way again. His name starts with an A, or maybe the Red Ranger start with an A. I don't know. He was the best friend slash brother, one of the two of the Red Ranger, and yeah, I just loved all of that. I loved Power Rangers In Space. It was one of my favorite series, and yeah, just he had his own Megazord that was his own spaceship, which is pretty cool. He's absolutely S tier for me. Also, just look at him with the gold and the silver. Absolutely great looking. He was the Silver Power Ranger, I believe they called him. We get to Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and we have this guy absolutely banging, like one of the best outfits of all time in Power Rangers. Look, he has horns. I mean, look at that. And when he wanted to fight some big monster, he didn't even have a Zord. He just grew big and got armor. Like he just became the Zord, which is super super cool. Even when there was a regular human that became that, he still gained that ability. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So this Power Ranger from Lost Galaxy with the giant bull horns and everything, super super cool. S tier. Love that. Um, After Lost Galaxy was Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. Ooh, remembering these names. And we again have a Silver Power Ranger. Silver is just great for me. Now, this one was again a case where you thought somebody died and they didn't. And Lightspeed Rescue did not hold anything back with this one. Um, they showed the backstory for this. So the Silver Lightspeed Power Ranger, this guy is the brother of the Pink Ranger. I remember this distinctly because this was like traumatizing as a kid. Um, and I guess that's why Power Rangers usually doesn't do this kind of thing. But so there's like an accident, and the dad of them, their dad, who is like the leader of the Power Rangers. He's not a ranger himself, but he's like the leader of the I don't know, the organization that controls Power Rangers in this one. Anyway, there's an accident. You later find out, I believe, caused by the villain, and they end up teetering over a cliff, and he literally has to pick: do I save my son or my daughter? And he doesn't really get a chance to make a decision because the son falls, but you're kind of made to think like, oh, which one was he going to save? And like, if you were in that situation, like, which one were you going to save? Like, it's kind of traumatizing because they're both kids dangling over like a ravine of like, I don't think it was fire. I think that was Lost Galaxy where there was a ravine of fire. I think it was water, and I think it was raining. But yeah, he comes back. He's alive. That's nice, but he's evil because his dad, left him to die, he thinks, but that's not really what happened. So he figures it out, and yeah, I don't remember what his Zord is though. But yeah, A tier for that thrilling backstory, even though it was slightly traumatizing for me as a child. After Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, we get Power Rangers Time Force. We get this guy is a Time Force Ranger who has the one of the coolest Megazords ever with the Time Force Time Dragon. It's a T-Rex. It's a T-Rex that goes through time to be a T-Rex, to be a giant robot monster T-Rex. That it's very cool. It's very cool. He is a Red Ranger. He's the only extra Ranger to be like completely red. Oh, I guess not. Well, this one was like the Maroon Ranger. I don't know. He's one of the only Rangers to be completely red, which is kind of cool. I don't really remember his backstory. I do remember he was kind of a dick, but I guess they get over that. And yeah, so there he is. And that's from Power Rangers Time Force. What do we got next? Next up, we have Power Rangers Wild Force. Oh, it's not Time Force, is it? It's Time something? I don't know. Power Rangers Time something. And then after that, we have Power Rangers Wild Force, which this one I remember very vividly. Power Rangers Wild Force was one of the first series where each Ranger had like multiple Zords and they could all combine together in different ways, which I always thought was really, really cool. And I had all the toys, which I would love to still have, if even just to have them on my shelf next to me while I talk about this. No idea where they went. Probably sold them at a yard sale or something. The Sixth Ranger for this one, he was evil, and he was pretty cool because he came in with his own 3 Zords that could combine together into a Megazord, and it was an alligator, a gray wolf, and a hammerhead purple shark. And that is just like the most badass 3 Zords you could have. Like, pick 3 animals for a villain to have to beat up the heroes with. You're gonna tell a hammerhead shark, an alligator, and a wolf. Like, boy came in and just wrecked the floor with the Rangers. Now, that said, his Zords were awesome. Don't remember much about him at all. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in B tier because I don't remember a thing about this man other than his Zords. The ones up here, at least I can remember a little bit more about them. I didn't really talk about, but like the Zeo Ranger, the Gold Zeo Ranger, he had to like have this thing where he would lose his powers and he couldn't use them that much. You know, all these, I'm sure there was a story here, but I just don't remember it other than he was evil and then he became good. So, there you go. Power Rangers Ninja Storm, a lot of people my age would probably say this is where Power Rangers starts to drop off. There probably is just an age where everybody that started watching Power Rangers as a kid just decides they, want to fall off. I kept watching Power Rangers, and I kind of told myself it was because it was the only thing on TV. And maybe that's true, but also I was just kind of immature at that age, and I wanted to watch Power Rangers. So, I don't know. Sue me. But Ninja Storm was the first one to be kind of weird, where you only started with 3 Rangers, and then they had 2 evil Rangers, and then you had the 6th Ranger that came in later. So the 4th and 5th Ranger that were evil, I didn't like that concept. They had like a light blue Ranger and a dark blue Ranger, and then a red Ranger and a maroon Ranger, so the colors also weren't that great. We can even drop these down to D tier probably. I did like the Green Ranger from this series. I'm gonna only put him in B tier though, because I really didn't like his Zord. They also did a really weird thing in Ninja Storm, if anybody watched it, with like the Zords where they had like these balls, and like the ball. I'm explaining this horribly. The balls would be like weapons, and they'd transform into like a hammer or something, and like they had to find and power up these different balls. They were like animals that turned into balls. Okay, there's no way anybody knows what is happening if you've never seen that before. From my description right there, I apologize. But anyway, this guy had a helicopter, and all the other Rangers had like animals, and I think like dinosaurs specifically. Like these guys had like giant scarabs or something, and like the regular Rangers had like a T-Rex, a pterodactyl, and a triceratops. I think this guy had just like a helicopter. And I was like, what? Like why? Like he had this whole like Ninja Star kind of theme going on, which is kind of cool, but like it was just a helicopter. I just kind of thought that was weird. And I didn't really like the design of it. So the design of his Zord sends him down to C tier. Also, he was like the nerd, like guy in a chair for the team. So it's kind of obvious he was going to become the 6th Ranger. And more than any of these other ones that I can kind of think of, it was really, really telegraphed that he was going to become the 6th Ranger, in my opinion. Which, I don't know. Apparently that's criteria. I just made up that criteria. But, yeah. Alright. Moving on to Power Rangers Dino Thunder, which actually got me back into Power Rangers for just like a hot minute, because they brought back Jason David Frank, rest in peace, Jason David Frank, playing the mentor of the Power Rangers this time. So again, just 3 Power Rangers, but then Jason David Frank, the original Tommy Oliver, coming, and he's their teacher. So he's their history teacher, and they don't know he was a Power Ranger, but he is, right? He used to be the white Power Ranger, and then he ends up getting the black Dino Thunder Power Ranger powers, which is just super cool. S tier on that, just because it is Tommy. I really can't put him any lower than that. And then there is also an evil villain in that series who does become, or an evil ranger who does become a good guy. I always really, really loved the look of the white Dino Thunder Ranger as well. He had a giant, like, Brachiosaurus looking thing. And I forget what Tommy had it as his, if it was a T-Rex or not. I forget what his Zord was, but this guy was pretty cool too. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in A tier. And then finally, we have Power Ranger SPD, which is honestly really the last series that I could tell you anything about at all. And I'm not even sure. I don't even think this guy is from SPD. All the other SPD Rangers have the little SPD crest on there. So this guy, I've definitely seen him, but maybe he's not from SPD. I don't know where he's from. Because you actually, in SPD, they had the 5 Rangers, and in SPD, the Power Rangers were more like police officers than anything. So you had the 6th Power Ranger, which was like the lieutenant, the commander of the Power Rangers, who wasn't really a Ranger himself, but then sometimes he was. And that was all right. You know, he had a pretty cool suit, actually. He was kind of like a wolf. I think he was actually a wolf for some reason, because in this world there was wolves, like like he was a humanoid bipedal, like he was a wolf, like he talked and stuff. It was weird. I don't know. But when he transformed into a Power Ranger, his helmet still looked normal because they got the footage from Super Sentai. Right. So yeah, all that was kind of weird. Yeah, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put him in C tier. Cool design. Story made no sense. And then you actually had a 6th Ranger who was more like an actual 6th Ranger, who I remember absolutely nothing about, so I'm going to put him in D tier. Sorry, that's all I got. There was also, in this series, I specifically remember there was a dream sequence when there was an Orange Ranger, which has the distinction of being the first ever Orange Power Ranger. But it was a dream. It didn't actually happen. So, yeah. And that's it, guys. These are the extra Power Rangers, according to this list. All of them that have ever existed. Not sure if it's updated or not. Haven't seen all these series. Let me know in the comment section stuff. I mean, if you know more about Power Rangers than I do, let me know. If you got some nostalgia hits from this, you're welcome. If you could tell me more about any of these at the bottom, let me know. Or if you just are here, think about Jason David Frank like I am. Thoughts and prayers to his family, of course. And yeah. Thank you for coming with me down this nostalgia trip. If you are still watching, I make tier lists like this, usually a little more planned out, but it is what it is. I make tier lists like this pretty much every day, though. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back with more tier lists coming up this week, and a early happy Thanksgiving to everybody watching and everybody out there. Have a great day.